as well as resistors, capacitors, diodes, and transistors. Op-amps are one of the basic building blocks of analog electronic circuits. So what is an op-amp? Op comes from operational, and amp comes from amplifier. An amplifier is an electronic circuit that increases the strength or magnitude of an electrical signal. It takes a weak input signal and makes it larger, producing a more powerful output signal. Many electronic signals are weak and need to be strengthened before they can be processed, transmitted, or used to drive output devices. Consider an audio system with a microphone and a speaker. The microphone converts voice into an electric signal, and the speaker converts that signal back into voice. The issue is that the microphone's output signal is weak and not strong enough to drive the speaker directly. To make the signal strong enough, we need to amplify it. That's where the amplifier comes in. The primary role of an amplifier is to increase the voltage of the input signal without significantly distorting its quality. There are different types of amplifiers. Amplifiers are crucial in ensuring that weak signals become powerful enough to drive output devices effectively. So what is special about operational amplifiers? Long before the advent of digital electronic technology, computers were built to electronically perform calculations by employing voltages and currents to represent numerical quantities. For example, imagine we have 3 water containers with different temperatures. We need to get the average temperature of these 3 temperatures automatically in real time. How can we make such a system? We can place a temperature sensor in each container. The output voltage of each sensor is proportional to the temperature of each room's temperature. But how can we get the average of these 3 voltages? For that, we need to design a special circuit. It should be able to give the average of these 3 inputs, and then we can determine the average temperature using the output voltage. This is an analog computer that computes the average of its input. Here is another example, an analog computer that computes the difference between 2 sensor signals. Likewise, many electronic systems require performing calculations involving voltages, which include tasks like finding the voltage difference between 2 points, adding or summing up voltage values, dividing voltage by a constant factor, multiplying voltage by a constant factor, calculating the rate of change of voltage over time, which is the derivative, and determining the accumulated effect of voltage over a certain time period, which is the integral. To eliminate the need for designing separate circuits for every specific calculation, engineers pursued a more adaptable approach. They aimed to find a component that could handle various mathematical operations with minimal adjustments. This pursuit resulted in the development of the operational amplifier, intentionally crafted to serve as a flexible foundational unit for such calculations. The word operational comes from the idea that these amplifiers were intended to operate or function in specific mathematical configurations. The name operational amplifiers implies that this device can do mathematical operations and also has the ability to increase magnitude of an electrical signal. So op-amps are basically a voltage amplifying device which can be used to perform various mathematical operations. Op-amps, like any amplifier circuit, can be built from discrete components, that is, resistors, capacitors, and transistors, or even using valves, but it is a laborious and complex task. To simplify the process and make them more accessible to engineers and designers, manufacturers produce op-amps as integrated circuits or ICs. Instead of drawing complex circuit diagrams, op-amps are often symbolized by a simple triangle shape, where the internal components are not individually represented. Since many applications of op-amps require 2 or more of them, pairs or quartets of op-amps are frequently packaged together. They are very affordable. You can buy dozens of op-amp ICs for less than $1. A single op-amp has 2 input terminals and 1 output terminal. One of the inputs is called the inverting input, marked with a negative or minus sign. The other input is called the non-inverting input, marked with a positive or plus sign. The V plus and V negative power supply terminals are connected to the positive and negative terminals of a DC voltage source, respectively. These will often be in the range of positive 5 volts to 15 volts for the positive supply and negative 5 volts to 15 volts for the negative supply. This dual supply arrangement allows for the output voltage to swing both above and below 0 volts. The operational amplifier's output port can both sink and source either a voltage or a current. When designing a circuit around an op-amp, it is good to be familiar with its characteristics. The primary defining feature of an op-amp is its gain. As previously discussed, op-amps have the special ability to amplify input voltages. More precisely, they amplify the voltage difference between their two input terminals. The gain of an op-amp represents how much larger the output voltage will be compared to the input voltage difference. If the inverting input voltage is V1, non-inverting input voltage is V2, and the output voltage is V3, then the gain will be V3 divided by V2 minus V1. This gain is a critical parameter that determines the amplification factor of the op-amp. Even though the op-amps amplify the difference between its inputs, op-amps cannot be used as a differential amplifier on their own. Because the internal gain of an op-amp is really high, the typical real value is about 200,000. For an example, imagine the difference between the input terminals is just 1 millivolts. Since the gain is enormous, the output voltage will be theoretically about 200 volts, making it unmanageable and impractical in most scenarios. In practice, the op-amp can only amplify the voltage up to the level of its power supply. However, this characteristic can be effectively utilized in voltage comparators. Here we have an op-amp that has a gain of 200,000 and connected to plus 10 volts and negative 10 volts power supply. Let's set the inverting input at 0 volts. We are going to compare the voltage of non-inverting input with the voltage of inverting input, which is 0 volts, and give output according to it. The output voltage is equal to the gain times the input voltage difference. If the voltage difference of inputs is 0, the output is also 0. If the voltage at the non-inverting input is slightly increased, the op-amp attempts to amplify this voltage difference. In such cases, the output theoretically needs to become substantially higher. But there's a limitation. The op-amp can only amplify the voltage up to the level of its power supply, which is 10 volts. When the output reaches this maximum value, it's referred to as saturation. In essence, the op-amp becomes saturated when its output hits the supply voltage limit. Like vice if the voltage of inverting input is slightly lower than the non-inverting. The op-amp attempts to amplify this small voltage difference into negative 200 volts. But since the power supply limit is negative 10 volts, the output saturates at the negative supply voltage. The working summary of op-amp voltage comparator can be shown like this. If the voltage difference of inputs is 0, the output will be 0. If the voltage of non-inverting input is higher than the inverting input, the op-amp is saturated at positive supply voltage. If the voltage of non-inverting input is lower than the inverting input, the op-amp is saturated at negative supply voltage. Instead of grounding the inverting input, we can make its voltage adjustable like this. So, we can set any value in supply voltage range. Then it compare the input voltage with that value. For example, let's set the inverting input to plus 5 volts. If the input is a sine wave, the output will be negative 10 volts for the input values less than 5 volts, and the output will be positive 10 volts for the input values more than positive 5 volts. The resulting output is a square wave. In this configuration, the op-amp compares its input voltages and saturates the output terminal accordingly. The uniqueness of op-amp extends beyond their use as comparators. While they can serve as comparators in specific scenarios, their versatility goes far beyond this role. To make op-amps usable as differential amplifiers in real-world applications, External components such as feedback resistors are essential to control and limit the overall gain. Feedback path connects the output to the input. We called this closed-loop configuration. Now we know two op-amp configurations. Open-loop configuration is used to create comparators. The closed-loop configuration is used to configure the op-amp to do the amplification and mathematical operations. Before going further, there are few things to explain. To help circuit designers and enthusiasts, rules have been developed in designing circuits using an op-amp based on their characteristics. Such rules are commonly known as the golden rules. As we discussed earlier, the open-loop gain is the gain of the op-amp without positive or negative feedback. Ideally, the open-loop gain of an op-amp will be infinite. That's the first golden rule of op-amp. But practically, this value is about 200,000, not infinity. The second rule states that no current enters or leaves the op-amp inputs, which means the input currents are effectively zero. In simpler terms, an ideal op-amp has infinite input impedance, which means it draws no current from the input sources connected to its inputs. Although ideally it is assumed that the input impedance of an op-amp is infinite and has zero current flow into the inside, real op-amps have input leakage currents from a few picoamps to a few milliamps. The third rule states that in a circuit with negative feedback, the output voltage of an op-amp will change in whatever way is necessary to make the voltage difference between its two inputs zero. In other words, an ideal op-amp will adjust its output voltage to eliminate any voltage difference between its inverting and non-inverting inputs. These golden rules help in understanding and analyzing op-amp circuits. These rules are based on the ideal characteristics of op-amps and provide simplified guidelines for predicting their behavior in different configurations. Keep those rules in mind. Let's discuss a few more applications and try to analyze those using golden rules. The next most basic application of the op-amps is the voltage buffer. It's really simple. We just have to connect the output directly to the inverting input. What happens if we apply 1 volt to the non-inverting input? Look at the rule number 3. The op-amp tries to change its output to make sure whatever is the voltage present in the non-inverting input is also present in the inverting input. So the output voltage has also become 1 volt. Consequently, in this configuration, the output voltage becomes equal to the input voltage. As the voltage output is equal to the voltage input, students might become puzzled and wonder whether this kind of circuit has any practical application. Actually, there are many. Think we have this kind of voltage divider and we need to power up some load. If we directly connect the load like this, since the current is flowing through the load will affect the voltage ratio of the resistance and change the voltage V1. To avoid this, we can use an op-amp buffer to this point and power up our load. According to rule number 2, no current flows in or out from the inputs, so the op-amp will not disturb the voltages V1 and V2. The load's current is provided by the power supply connected to the op-amp, eliminating the distortion of the voltage divider's values. Another important application of op-amps is non-inverting amplifier. The configuration of non-inverting amplifier is like this. Let's first analyze the circuit. If the Vin is applied to the non-inverting input directly, according to the golden rule 3, the voltage of the inverting input also has to be the same. Since the R1 is grounded from one side, the voltage across it is Vin, and the voltage across the R2 is equal to Vout minus Vin. According to the golden rule 2, no current flows to the op-amp through the input, so the current flowing through the R1 and R2 is equal. That current can be written as voltage across each resistor divided by the resistance, like this. Now we can rearrange the equation and calculate the Vout. The gain of this non-inverting amplifier is R1 plus R2 divided by R1. We can adjust the values of R1 and R2 to set the gain of this non-inverting amplifier as needed. If the input is a sine wave, then the output of the non-inverting input will be like this. Input is amplified according to the gain, and it's not inverted. The word invert will be more clear to you in our next example. Our final example for this episode is the inverting amplifier. It's very close to our previous example, but there are few differences. In an inverting amplifier, the input is taken to the inverting input through a resistor R1. A feedback path is provided from the output via the resistor R2 to the inverting input. Look closely. For ease of representation, inverting and non-inverting inputs are swapped here. Let's analyze the circuit. Since the non-inverting input is connected to ground, the voltage of non-inverting input is 0 volts. According to the Golden Rule 3, the voltage of the inverting input also has to be the same. So the voltage of inverting input is also becomes 0 volts. The voltage across R1 is 0 minus V in, and the voltage across R2 is V out minus 0. According to the Golden Rule 2, no current flows to the op-amp through the input, so the current flowing through the R1 and R2 is equal. That current can be written as voltage across each resistor divided by the resistance. Now we can rearrange the equation and calculate the V out. The gain of this inverting amplifier is minus R2 divided by R1. The negative sign is very important. It indicates that the input is inverted. So this amplifier not only amplifies the input, but also inverts it. We can adjust the values of R1 and R2 to set the gain of this inverting amplifier as needed. If the input is a sine wave, then the output of the inverting amplifier will be like this. Input is amplified according to the gain, but it's inverted. In this episode, we've covered the fundamental applications of op-amps, including the voltage comparator, voltage buffer, non-inverting amplifier, and inverting amplifier. In our upcoming episode, we'll delve into more practical applications such as voltage summing amplifiers, integrating amplifiers, and differentiating amplifiers. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and motivates us. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more captivating educational videos.